Hi guys, it's Marquis. Hi guys, it's Marquis here with another episode of Marqui-Talks Black. It's been a while for me as far as episodes. I haven't posted many lately. I have a lot of them stockpiled up. I'm going to work on that and post them. But in the meantime, I wanted to talk to you about two different things. The first one is Charlene Michelle Cooks, the pregnant black woman who was arrested. I believe it was in Texas now. Um, and also about Sandra Bland. That one's a little bit more recent. She's the black woman who was shown on video camera being pulled over and then arrested, who was found 3 days later of a alleged suicide in her cell. Now, the topic isn't just those women in particular. Really, I think the topic is more about police accountability. Now, I pose this question: should we hold police more accountable than we would hold an average person? The reason I ask that question is because I've talked to various different people, and a lot of people have different opinions on this. Some people say cops should be held to a higher standard because of the job that they have, and because of the power they wield, the power to literally ruin someone's life. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If a cop pulled you over and he decided you were guilty for whatever reason, it's pretty much his word against yours, unless there's some sort of camera involved. But getting back to that, I've also talked to other people on the other side of that who say, well, no, I don't think cops should be held to any higher standard than anyone else, because they are just human beings like anyone else, trying to perform a job and trying to get things done, and they're trying to go home to their family, and they also face the worst of the human element on a regular basis, on a damn near daily basis. And I totally agree with that. Um, so I do want to talk about that. So let's start with the pregnant woman scenario. Some of you may not know the story, so here it goes. This is just a summarized version. If I'm wrong in any way, please send me an email and I'll try to correct myself in the future. Um, Pregnant black woman gets into a slight fender bender with another woman who is Caucasian. They get into a little bit of an altercation, verbal, no sort of exchange of blows. The white woman calls the police, which is what you would normally do in a accident anyway. The policeman shows up. He asks the white woman, what's going on, what happened, what's the scenario here. She explains her side. He approaches the black woman, Charlene Michelle Cooks, and he asks her for her name. Now, it is at this point that things diverge a little bit. According to several articles that I've read, Miss Cooks's Miss Cooks. Anyway, her response was, "Why do I have to tell you my name?" Now, a lot of people are going to be turned off by that concept right there. So they're going to say, well, there you go. Well, that's why she was arrested, slammed to the ground. She had a flipping attitude. You don't take an attitude with a cop. You always be respectful. And in an ideal world, people are going to be respectful all the time, But and this is just my own belief. I wouldn't put it past a person to be having a bad day if they get into, one, a car accident, and two, they're already pregnant. Pregnant women are known to have emotional mood swings. I can't really say why she responded saying, why do you need to know my name? It was, I believe, her point of pointing out that he didn't ask the white woman for her name. So maybe she felt as though she was under suspicion. Maybe she felt attacked. I'm not really sure, but that's just how I'm kind of seeing it. I'm kind of putting it together in my own head. She kind of felt maybe she was under attack at that point. So, the cop at that point becomes upset with her. She becomes upset with him. He asks her to get on the ground. She says, "I'm not going to." At which point, and it depends on how you want to really flip it. Either she was slammed to the ground or she was put down. And, I mean, those are two different types of connotations. I mean, you can look at it, you can say she was put down as in, she was resisting arrest and the cop did what he had to do, or you can say that she was unfairly treated and she was slammed to the ground. A pregnant woman, which, if anyone has ever met someone pregnant, they need to be handled with the most utmost of care. So, fast forward to the more recent case with Sandra Bland. That scenario, that video is a little bit more fresh in my mind. I watched that several times earlier today, so I could just try to get a feel for everything that happened. The black woman gets pulled over. Miss Sandra Bland gets pulled over. The police officer pulled her over for failure to make a turn signal, I believe it was, or something minor. No speeding, not weaving out on traffic, not even under the influence or anything. Pulls her over. He asks, can you put your cigarette out? Miss Bland is still within the confines of her own car. Says, why do I need to put my cigarette out? It's at this point again that someone could easily be understood to be of diverging opinions on the matter. Her response, instead of putting out her cigarette, her response was, why do I need to put out my cigarette? Someone could take that as, well, you're being disrespectful to the cop, you're being belligerent, you're talking back, you're resisting. But really, it does pose a question, why did she need to put it out? Maybe the cop's allergic to cigarette smoke. I don't know. I don't really know, his health background. It's a possibility. Maybe cigarette smoke just irritated him. Maybe he just felt as though she was being rude. I know if someone blows cigarette smoke in your face, that's obviously a sign of disrespect. But that's not what happened. Apparently, she was just smoking. In any case, at that point, it escalates. He says something to the effect of, I'll light your ass up, referring, I believe, to his taser at that point. It is at this point that he gets in the car after asking her to remove herself from the vehicle, which she does not do. Minding, at this point, she is responding, asking him why she should remove herself from the vehicle. After first asking him why she should put out her cigarette, and then he says, get out of the car. She does not comply. She asks, why am I being removed from my car? He then goes in, gets her, and then pulls her off camera. At this point, obviously, because she's off camera, it's really speculative, but you can hear her saying, you just slammed my head into the ground. Do you even care about that? Or her saying, you're going to break my ribs. Now, also, on the cop side, I don't want to be accused, because I have been in the past accused of being, I guess, anti-police, which I'm not. I'm totally not. And on the police side, the video later shows another officer showing up, and the two officers exchanging words. The arresting officer said that he was kicked in the ribs, but it didn't really hurt. It wasn't really an injury. And, he seemed to laugh it off. He was fairly dismissive of it, whatever. She was arrested, and then 3 days later, she was found hanged or hung in her own jail cell. And they were saying that she committed suicide. Now, her family and friends and everyone else are crying foul, saying that it was a total setup and everything else. Now, going back, I read an article, and I saw, some of the news footage on it. It was a CNN correspondent. I don't remember his name. I'm sorry, but the individual who worked for CNN, who was a retired police officer, I believe, pretty much said something to the effect of, it was her arrogant attitude that sparked the whole incident. Had she not been arrogant, this wouldn't have happened. Now, that particular sentiment, if something I've heard time and again in regards to situations where things may be out of hand with police. Obviously, you always want to treat your local law enforcement with the utmost respect, But surely, if you're having a bad day, you really can't be faulted for that. Now, I'm not saying go out and verbally abuse your local police officer. That's not what I'm saying at all. They're the human beings just like you. The question I'm posing is, and I think the more important question overall is, should we hold them to a higher standard? Now, how does that play into things? The the CNN employee, the CNN correspondent, was basically saying that the whole situation started because of her bad attitude, and as a result of that, she was taken away and she was arrested. Can you arrest someone for having a bad attitude? I'm not really clear on all the legal workings, but I don't believe that's how the law works. Um, I would hope, and this is just my sincere hope, that any police officer taking their job seriously would kind of step back and remove themselves from the situation mentally. Go into every situation fresh. I understand they're the human beings; they want to get home, the same as anyone else. But I think that the main thing is, if you go into something with a negative attitude or with the baggage of your entire day, you're going to react based on that. If I'm working in customer service and I deal with 10 shitty customers, and then one nice one, by the time I even reach that 11th person, that last person, I'm probably already going to be in a bad mood, right? And anything that I do, any action that I take will be reflective of that. Now, I think that's a dangerous thing for a cop, because we're talking about someone who's not in customer service. We're not talking about a manager at your local supermarket. We're talking about someone who has the literal ability to ruin your life. So the question that I pose is, should we hold police officers or law enforcement to a higher standard than we hold ourselves? Um, when you meet someone during the course of their day, you don't really know what they're going through. They could have had the shittiest day ever, and like I said, anything that they do will be at that point a reflection of that. But should police officers at least strive to remove themselves from that, try to approach things from a unbiased or at least emotionless scenario and say, you know what, I have, as a police officer, the ability to affect someone's life, be it good or bad. Let me go into this completely neutral, and certainly not to be down on them. Like I said, a cop is just a person like anybody else, with a family and with a job that they're trying to do and trying to get home safely. Um, should we hold that against them? I think that's the larger question. I mean, the CNN correspondent brought up that Sandra Bland had a negative attitude when she was pulled over. But I ask you, is that enough? Is that enough to really spark a situation between a cop and a person? And I think that we've been seeing that more and more nowadays. You'll hear reports of someone being pulled over or this or that, and some sort of situation escalates, and the defense is usually, well, if you hadn't have said that to the cop, it wouldn't have happened. But is that really a defense? I mean, should they be able to act based on their emotion with so much power in hand? All right, guys, that's the end of this episode. Thank you for joining me. If you do have any questions or any comments or any topics that you want me to respond to, please email me at the email that I linked below, and I'll see you guys around. All right, thanks.